Want to be a Mobile Legends pro? Bet you've missed at least 10 of these. From secret mechanics to hidden map tricks, these 15 hidden features could help you finally reach Mythic and Mythic glory. Let's start with number 1. Still relying on quick chat to check if your teammates' ultimates are ready? There's a faster, smarter way. Just watch the hero avatars at the top of your screen. If you see a green icon, it means their ultimate is ready. If it's gray, they're still on cooldown. No need to ask, just glance and make better calls instantly. Any item you buy before the 20-second mark can be sold for full gold. This means you can use that time to gain temporary advantage against your enemy. If you're an EXP laner, buy boots at the start. They give you extra movement speed, letting you reach your lane quicker. Then, before 20 seconds, sell the boots and buy core damage items, like dagger or physical or magic defense items instead. The result? You reach your lane faster, then have an upper edge against the enemy who only has base stats. You can determine the enemy jungler's rotation by taking advantage of the jungler's scoreboard trick. If you didn't already know, when you take the purple buff, you'll get 23 gold for killing the small one alone, and then 107 gold after you kill the big one. This means that while you are taking your own buff, you can check the scoreboard to see the enemy jungler's gold. If their gold increases by 23, this means they are starting at the purple buff, and if they are starting at the red buff, their gold instead would increase by 120. If this is too much math for you, simply compare your gold with the enemy jungler's gold. If it's exactly the same, then the enemy is starting the same buff as you. If it's different, then the enemy is on the opposite buff. Once you have figured out which buff the enemy started with, you can predict their ganking path. For example, if they start with orange buff, it means they'll likely farm towards the purple buff and end up at your bottom lane for an early gank. This will allow you to plan your rotations and alert your teammates to anticipate a gank. There is an imaginary line that separates the jungle from the river. Within the first 2 minutes, the jungle area is protected, reducing damage taken by heroes in their own jungle by 15% and increasing damage to enemies by 20%. This gives heroes an advantage in their own jungle. As you can see, Joy dealt more damage to the enemy and took less damage herself due to being within her jungle area. Therefore, it is not wise to gank the enemy in their jungle early on, unless you outnumber them. In the gold lane, the Lancer minion gives you 33 gold, the infantry minion gives you 65 gold, and the cannon minion gives you 106 gold. This gives you a total of 204 gold if you clear an entire minion wave, which is more than the amount of gold you get from killing an enemy. You want to ensure you last hit every single enemy minion, otherwise you will only get 80% of the gold from the enemy minions, losing you a total of 40 gold. Therefore, instead of chasing kills and clearing lanes fast, you should prioritize last-hitting minions and denying the enemy farm in order to gain a gold advantage early on. Remember, missing a minion wave will set you back 204 gold, while not last-hitting them will set you back 40 gold, giving your enemy an early gold advantage. Every hero in the game has a unique passive skill, and with a bit of attention, you can tell whether it's been used, either by your teammates or your enemies. For some heroes, it's quite obvious. For example, when a hero activates their passive, you'll see a shield icon appear around them. Other hero passives may be visible on the health bar. Heroes like Helcurt and Aurora and Dyroth, for instance, show a clear visual indicator when their passive is ready. But there are also heroes whose passives are more subtle. You'll need to look closely. Cho's fiery fists, Aulus's glowing hammer, or the small ring around Nana. These are all quiet signs that their passives are ready to trigger. There are even more examples. The darkened ring that appears within Khufra's skill range, Lilia's shoes, and many others. If you've spotted more subtle passives, feel free to share them in the comments. Let's all level up together. Paying attention to these little details can make a big difference when choosing to engage during a match. You can check bushes for enemies, even if you don't have vision skills like Novaria, Eve, or Rafaela. If you're using a fighter, grab items like War Axe or Brute Force Breastplate. These items have passives that trigger on enemy contact, so if the passive activates, there's someone hiding in that bush. For mage players, items like Concentrated Energy or Wishing Lantern can do the same trick. If you've got spell vamp items and you're not at full HP, try casting a skill into the bush. If your HP suddenly increases, That means you've hit an enemy, even if you can't see them. At the start of the game, it's always a good idea to toss a few skills at the buff to help your jungler clear it faster and speed up their early farm. However, be careful not to stay in the buff area for too long, as the more allied heroes that are near a jungle buff, the greater the damage reduction. For every hero near a buff, the damage percentage dealt will be reduced, causing the jungler to deal less damage to the buff and slowing down their farm and rotation early on. You can check if there are enemies camping nearby by using the eye icon trick. Here's the basics. When you enter a bush, an eye icon appears above your head, indicating that you are invisible to the enemy team. If the coast is clear, the eye icon pops up right away, like shown. However, if there is a slight delay before the icon appears, it means there is an enemy camping nearby. Here is a comparison of the eye icon delay. You can use this delay to your advantage. If the eye icon doesn't pop up right away, there's a good chance someone is hiding inside, so it's best not to walk in. You can also use this trick in the sidelines to check if your enemies are secretly waiting in the bush to ambush you. When you are winning, the enemy gains more gold from killing you than you from killing them. For every death an enemy has, it deducts 20 gold from the bounty you get from killing them. For example, when the enemy has 0 deaths, you get 200 gold. When they have 1 death, you get 180 gold. When they have 2 deaths, you get 160 gold, and so on. However, this is capped at minimum 50 gold, and resets to 200 gold when the enemy gets a kill. For every kill a hero gets without dying, the bounty on them increases by 40 gold, and caps out at 600 gold. Therefore, the more kills a hero makes without dying, the more the bounty for their death. The Arrival spell is often regarded as one of the most useless spells in the game. But did you know that aside from turrets and minions, you can also cast the spell on traps? Like Selena's Abyssal Trap and Popal's Bear Trap. What makes this especially powerful is that when you cast Arrival on these traps out of the enemy's vision, the animation becomes invisible to them, making it nearly impossible for the enemy to predict your arrival. You can use this to your advantage. For example, you or your ally can leave a trap near the enemy's base, letting you use Arrival onto the trap undetected and backdooring to end the game. There are subtle visual cues in the game that can help you time exactly when an enemy's ultimate will end. For example, you can track Yin's ultimate by watching his symbol, either on the map or within his domain. Once the flame disappears, both heroes will exit at the same point they entered the domain. When Harley casts his ultimate, a glowing ring appears around the target. This ring acts as a countdown, letting you know exactly when the damage will hit. Faramis and Lunox also have ultimates with visible timers, giving you a clear idea of how long their effects will last. Learning to recognize and react to these visual indicators can give you a huge advantage in team fights and 1v1s. The Purify spell is not only used to get rid of stuns or CC skills. Instead, it can also remove all enemy passives. For example, when enemies like Brody or Yu Zhong place stacks on you, you can trigger the Purify spell to remove them, making you take less damage. There are some secret items in the game that only show up when certain heroes are on your team. When you have an ally Jawhead, you can grab Anti-Throw, so Jawhead can't yeet you to your death. Florin can hand out a flower, giving free stats and power to one of her teammates. And finally, Carmilla can buy Heartbreak to prevent Sicilian from sucking her into his body. Here's a trick to always secure your role in Ranked. If you're a duo, just set each other's roles. For example, if you play jungle and your duo plays EXP, both of you select those roles and swap in the lobby if needed. For trios, everyone select their main role and use a common secondary role. This forces the matchmaker to give your squad exactly what you want.